Donald Trump is wrong about immigration, and Pope Francis and the bishops of the United States are right. Now, I've oversimplified things massively, and I want to be very clear that I myself am actually a hardliner on immigration and my own personal politics. I do think that we need strong borders. I do not think Donald Trump and JD Vance is wrong on that score. Something needs to be done about the immigration situation in the United States because it is out of hand. I think they should build a border wall. They have millions of people coming in, and it is just more people than can be documented, and it is becoming, and I'm accepting the testimony of the people who are living in border region along the southern border of the United States, that it is just getting dangerous. There's human trafficking, there's drugs. Something needs to be done. I want to be fair as I criticize people like Dr. Taylor Marshall, J.D. Vance, or Donald Trump, because they do have a real problem that does need real answers, and they're not totally wrong that some deportations need to happen, that the border needs to be brought under control. That being said, I think that with such a polarizing issue, there is a tendency to go to extremes on both sides. There's some people just want to throw open the borders of every country and have no borders and give everyone instant citizenship. That's not Catholic teaching. Neither, however, is taking everyone you see who may or may not be an immigrant, who you might suspect might be an immigrant, and just presume they're there illegally and kick them out of the country and have no regard to their legal rights or human rights whatsoever. So before going to this further, let's actually delve into some Catholic teaching. We're going to look at two sources. One is from the Summa Theologica, and another is a decree from Pope Pius XII on migrants. I'm not going to read both of them in full. I'm going to spare you that, but I'm going to provide links down below. And whether or not you're pro-immigrant, or think you should just deport everyone, or something in the middle, if you're a Catholic, before you open your mouth or post online, go down below, read these decrees. They're solid Catholic teaching, and try to stay within Catholic teaching and realize that the world is way more nuanced than your own personal petty politics. So, the first quote I'm going to read for you, I have it right up in front of me on my laptop, the Summa Theologica of St. Thomas Aquinas, where he addresses this question. This is a quote that is often cited by people who oppose immigration to the United States, saying that we are right to expel, that people are right to expel, governments are right to expel people from the United States or other countries if they cross a border illegally. Let's take a look at what this text actually has to say. Quote, man's relation with foreigners are twofold, peaceful and hostile. And in directing both kinds of relations, the law contains suitable provisions. For the Jews were offered three opportunities of peaceful relations with foreigners. First, when foreigners passed through their land as travelers. Secondly, when they came to dwell in their land as newcomers. And in both these respects, the law made kind provision in its precepts. For it is written, Exodus 22:21, thou shalt not molest the stranger. And again, in Exodus 22:9, thou shalt not molest a stranger. So, as regard to immigrants, people are newcomers, people are passing through the country, you're supposed to leave them alone. That is the default position. That is to some degree a right as someone who's coming to either immigrate, work, or pass through the land peacefully. And they're in their country trying to mind their own business. They are to be protected by the rule of law. They are not to be molested, and they are to be left alone. Even illegal immigrants are literally immigrants. And they should be treated with dignity and respect. Now, there is a nuance to this. So, reading further, quote, thirdly, when any foreigners wish to be admitted entirely to the fellowship and mode of worship, with regard to these, a certain order is observed. First, they were not at once admitted to citizenship, just as it was law with some nations that no one was deemed a citizen except after 2 or 3 generations. As the philosopher says, the reason for this was that if foreigners were allowed to meddle in the affairs of a nation, as soon as it settled down in its midst, many dangers might occur, since the foreigners, not yet having the common good firmly at heart, might attempt something hurtful to the people. Hence, it was the law that prescribed in respect of certain nations that had had close relations to the Jews, visit the Egyptians, among whom they were born and educated, and the Idumeans, the children of Esau, Jacob's brother, they should be admitted to the fellowship of the people after the 3rd generation. Whereas others, with whom their relations had been hostile, such as the Ammonites and the Moabites, were never to be admitted to citizenship, while the Amalekites, who were yet more hostile to them, had no fellowship or kindred with them, were to be held as foes in perpetuity. End quote. So, while you are to respect foreigners, immigrants in your country, and that is to a certain degree a right, it does need to be balanced against the safety of the common good. Now, I'm going to say something that is going to get everyone angry at me. Right or left? These two principles do not cancel each other out. They both need to be observed. So, for example, if someone crosses the border illegally into the United States or Canada or Mexico, believe it or not, they actually have an illegal immigrant problem as well. Like most of the illegal immigrants going to the United States are passing through Mexico from further, and are from Colombia or Venezuela. In both of these cases, all these people have rights, but they also are subject to the rule of law. So I'll give an example. Let's say you have someone who's crossing the border illegally, going into the United States of America, and you have a bunch of people doing this all the time. And they're coming in. Some of them who are coming in with them are bringing drugs. Some of these people are fleeing legitimate disasters, and there's just so much red tape and bureaucracy, they have to either cross the border illegally or die. These people, some of them might live 5, 10, 20 years. Some of them are just crossing the border back and forth all the time as human traffickers, and sometimes they get into drugs. Some of them are just living a normal life, and they're trying to adapt and be part of the United States, and they might have some pride in their background, and but that's about it. And their children see themselves as fully American. Now, in the United States of America, let's say you have Trump's policies coming in. There are going to be people who ICE is going to come for them, who are going to find out, 20 years old, having been born in the United States, who see themselves fully as American citizens, who are going to find out they were illegal immigrants only when ICE comes knocking. They're going to be people who are literally just trying to flee, come get a peaceful life, and that is unfair to them because they had literally no choice. They're trying to flee for their lives. The Bible says not to molest a stranger. That definitely applies in that case. The case of people who are just trying to live in peace. That, like I said, the prescription of treating immigrants respectfully and not molesting them applies legitimately for people who are trying to immigrate and get citizenship and just have a better life. But then you have this other group of people who are coming in for the express purpose of bringing in drugs, crime, human trafficking. In that case, yeah, you don't want to admit them to citizenship. They don't have the common good and interest of the country at heart, and you should consider them criminals. Unfortunately, when you talk about illegal immigrants, It matches all these people in the same group. And and as a result, there is both a seemingly contradictory obligation, but it is an obligation to both protect the strangers, people who are coming in legally, who were born legally, because I have heard stories of people who ICE came after them because they were speaking Spanish and presumed they were illegal immigrants, and they were born in Puerto Rico. Their family is from Puerto Rico. They are full-fledged American citizens, have been American citizens for generations. They are not immigrants in any sense of the term, and ICE is going after them. That is unjust. That is 100% unjust. Just as letting criminals across the border in. So what should be done? As a Catholic, here's what my recommendations would be to everyone. I know no one watching this is going to listen to what I say, but on Judgment Day, you won't be able to say no one told you so. 1, listen to Vance, listen to the Pope Francis. Don't write off Trump or Vance as a fascist in this if you're on the left. And if you're on the right, don't say Pope Francis is just a Pachamama worshiper and they're all old, the Vatican and the hierarchy is all woke. Sometimes they do say things that are in line with Catholic teaching, and just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not Catholic teaching. There is a nuance to this, just as there's a nuance to everyone that is human. That is my first thing. Listen to both sides and educate yourself on Catholic teaching. Second thing I would do, and this is a policy I would recommend, is I think you do need to get hold of the border. That being said, random ICE raids targeted at people who are literally just not even, or Puerto Rican, or who are not, or just putting out their illegals. The second ICE comes knocking is not a good way to do things. There also is, in the case of the United States, certain constitutional requirements that need to be respected, as they have historically had birthright citizenship. That is a custom that needs to be honored. My recommendation would be, if Trump were to ask me what to do, and he's told me I want to work within Catholic teaching, how do I handle this? For starters, I would just start building the border wall. I would look at the border wall on one hand and look at ways to streamline the American immigration system so that people do not have unnecessarily long waits as they wait to get approved, but do in such a way as that security is not put at risk. Then after that, I would start keeping tabs on people who are breaking crimes. Actually, in some ways, I would not deport someone who's committing crimes, because if they're committing crimes, I just lock them away. In some ways, unless you got guarantee that they are going to be sent back. Unless you got guarantees that they're going to be imprisoned, I should say rather, in Colombia or Mexico or elsewhere. If they're committing crimes, you don't want them in your country. That is legitimate. And I would make contingency plans for families, because it is a big mess. I remember in the book of Nehemiah, where I believe it was the book of Nehemiah or Ezra, the people of Israel have been marrying foreign women and they had to divorce them, put them all away. It was not the work of a single day. And as much as we might say, we want this done day one, haste makes waste and grave injustices. There is an obligation to protect the borders. Sorry to people on the left. Trump and Vance and any other nationalist is right to look after the borders if they think there is a problem and just say, no, these people are dangerous, we don't want them in. That is fair, that is right, that is their prerogative. That, however, does not stop the fact that these people, if they come into your country, have rights under divine law. They do have rights not to be molested. They do have a right to due process under the law. Period. As such, there should be provision. As such, illegal immigrants, including and the illegal immigrants, should not all be treated the same. Just as all immigrants are not equal, so not all illegal immigrants are equal. There are nuances. The drug lord, head of the cartel, who's a serial killer, should not be treated the same way as the child who was born on American soil of the pregnant illegal immigrant who was fleeing the violence in her home country because she didn't want to die. The two are not the same and should not be treated the same at all. Also, in the first, even Trump, I think, would acknowledge this to a certain extent. I remember his first time around when the U.S. courts said you cannot separate children from their parents, and they gave Trump 30 days to put the kids with their parents together again. And he was asked if he was going to challenge this order. Trump's response was, I remember seeing him, he said, well, there's not really much to challenge. Everyone agrees children should be with their parents. Now it's also been pointed out that, well, how do you know that they're the actual parents? How do you know they're not human traffickers? Also a fair question. I'm not going to pretend that I have a solution to this problem in the United States. But I will give this one criticism of everyone who's involved, left and right. It's that it is not treated as something that has nuance. People want a massive hammer solution done right away when you need a search and scalpel. Catholics need to educate themselves on what the church teaches. And as much as I love Dr. Taylor Marshall, definitely watch some of his videos, great work. I have to disagree to a certain extent on how far he goes on immigration. He's a Texan, got a bias there, and he makes valid points. But here's the thing: even the quotes that people who are advocating a more hardline stance in immigration, even the quotes from the Summa, all they say is that, if someone comes to the United States or to a country as a foreigner, they may not, even if they are supposed to be treated with respect, they are supposed to be not supposed to be molested, and there might be, and there just says that there is a due order with giving them citizenship, and you have to ask, especially with the case of, and the principle of delaying citizenship is that the people might not have common good, and you have to ask, in the case of children who historically had birthright citizenship, but Trump wants to take them away, if they were born, grew up in the United States, would they not see themselves as American? If they see themselves as American, that's literally the whole reason for denying citizenship under the teaching of Aquinas. They're stepping outside of the teaching of Aquinas. There is one other quote I'd like to read you. The church has always taught that we should respect immigrants. And this is done in more recent times than Aquinas, under Pope Pius XII. Quote, Saint Pontiff, referring to Saint Pius X, must also be credited with the beginning of the Roman College established for the benefit of Italians who had immigrated to other lands. Young priests from the secular clergy were to be given a special course of studies and to be trained for the sacred ministry among immigrants, in order that the number of students might correspond to the need, he urged the Italian bishops, and particularly those who had an ample supply of priests, to send to the college any other priests who seemed qualified. Pope Francis might be a woke lord, but when it comes to immigration, he's in line with the Catholic faith pre-Vatican II. That is simply a statement of fact. I will post the entire quote down below. Aquinas leans more towards what Pope Francis is saying, and that there should not be mass deportations of families, and that there should be solicitude for immigrants. This is in line with previous church teaching. I cannot, even the quote from Aquinas that is quoted against the pro-immigration side, is actually pro-immigrant and goes on about respecting foreigners, and it just says, yeah, when they want citizenship, there should be a due order, which I think everyone should agree. But even in the motive there is we need to preserve our heritage. We need to make sure they have the interests, the common good of the nation at heart. That's all. So anyway, I am not an expert on this. And as much as I use the United States as an example, this is a problem with many countries, both in Europe and Canada, my own country. And this is just intended as a thought process. So if you're going to comment down below, please give me your opinion, but only after you've read these two decrees. Only after, or rather, this decree and this quote from this passage from Aquinas. Bare minimum, if you're going to run your mouth off about immigration, you should make yourself aware of these situations. And if you're going to disagree with the local bishop, and I don't say, and I would never say never go against your bishop no matter what, but if you're going to do so, make sure you've informed yourself about the Catholic faith first and what it actually teaches before you run your mouth off. Anyway, God bless. Have a great day. If you ever get a chance in your life, please check out NSSPX Chapel. Let me know if you'd like to address this question in another video in the future, more in depth. God bless and have a great day. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for sinners now and at the hour of death. Amen.